Hello, and welcome to day 10 of 13 days of horrible crafts and even scarier stories. Today's story comes to us from Mrs_Steaks on the NoSleep subreddit. As always, the link to this story is in the description, so feel free to read along with me. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Don't open doors for people you don't know. So, I'm not a native, but my friend Bly is half Navajo woman. I love when she teaches me about their customs, cultures, and traditions. There is one thing she doesn't really want to talk with me about, however. The skinwalker. She says talking about it attracts it. It was last night. I was at Bly's house. It was just her, me, and her cat Bojangles. We were just on the couch smoking and watching Scream. It's her favorite movie, and I'm always down for a good horror flick. Out of nowhere, Bojangles began making snarl noises and hissing at the window. This was extremely odd, as she was such a sweet cat. She even swatted at the windows, trying to claw whatever was on the other side. I assumed it was a rat or bird, or some other prey she's always chasing after. Then, there was a hard but rushed pounding at the door, like they needed to be let in immediately. I cupped my hands around my face to look out the window. "Laura, get away from the window," I hear Bly warn, but I rushed her off. I see a man standing on the porch, illuminated by a yellow, moth-surrounded porch light. In between frantically pounding on the door, I see him roll his neck in sharp motions and twist his wrists while stiffly moving around his fingers, like he's trying to crack each and every joint in his body all at once. I took note of his sickly gray skin and his slicked back hair. I can see his eyes dart around. I assumed he was probably on drugs or something with how odd he was acting. After the third or fourth rush knocked, I go to the door and open it, but leave the chain on. As soon as I opened it, a horrendous stench assaulted my senses. It made my eyes water. "Can I help you?" I asked the man. Hey, sweetie, are your parents home?" he asked me in a raspy voice, like he's been smoking for 20 years. "I'm 27, sir. I don't live with my parents," I say in an annoyed tone. "Oh, well, hey, can I use your phone, maybe?" he asked between heavy, labored breaths, taking one step closer to the door. I shuddered a little more. "I don't think that's a good idea, dude, but what do you need? I can call a tow truck or whatever," I said. I was very suspicious of this man's motives. Come on, it'll only take a second," he pleaded. This is when I knew something was up. "Yeah, go ask someone else, man," I told him as I began to close the door. Before I managed to actually get the door shut, this lunatic stuck his arm in the door trying to grab me. "Let me in, bitch!" he spat with malice in his voice. As he tried to force his way into the 5-inch gap in the door the chain allowed. As he flailed his arm around the inside of the door, he was able to grab hold of my wrist. His hand felt clammy, and he squeezed it so tight I thought he'd break my bone. I tried yanking it away, but he was so much stronger than me. As I fight with this man for my arm back, Bly ran up next to me with a knife and stabbed his arm, right in the inner elbow. One thing I noticed was there was no blood, just a pink fleshy gash in his arm. He let out a high-pitched screech, almost like a bat, as he pulled his wounded arm out of Bly's doorway. I slammed the door and locked the bolt and handle as I tried to catch my breath. "What the fuck? Do we call the cops?" I asked Bly. "No, they can't help us," she said, exhausted from the adrenaline come down. "What do you mean? That guy wanted to rob us at best and kill us at worst," I said in anger. "No, Laura, they can't help us. It wasn't a burglar. It wasn't human. That was a skinwalker. That's what I didn't want to happen, and it's why I don't talk about it. If it had gotten in here, we'd be dead now," she told me. I was annoyed. She was bringing superstition into whatever almost happened to us. I understand it's part of her culture, but come on, it's just lore, right? Wrong. The next morning we went out there to look around the block. We found a mangled sheep at our neighbor's little farm and a half-eaten coyote on the side of the road. As we got back to her porch so I could get my stuff to go home, I noticed something hanging off the side of her porch. It looked like a piece of an animal pelt. I pick up the lump of black fur. The flesh it's attached to is light brown and felt like holding a piece of lunch meat. It's wet and sticky. It smells like rotting meat. Something seems terribly off about it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then I remembered that man's greased black hair from the last night. I dropped it and it hit the ground with a plop and threw up. Bly came over and poked at it with a stick. "This is not good," she said. "But why?" I asked her. "Well, they know we're here now. It'll probably come back for us. They do love a challenge," she says with a shrug. "Okay, so we can just stay at my house," I suggest. "It doesn't matter. It'll find us. We'll have to kill it," she said flatly. So, that's what we're doing today. Luckily for me, I have quite the collection of firearms, and she has a lot of knives. So we're gonna hole up in her house until it comes back for round 2. This time, we'll be ready. If it comes back, I'll update, as long as it doesn't get me first. I really hope that you all enjoyed that one. Again, the link to it is in the description. Please do check out the subreddit. Lots of great stories there. Anyways, that's all for today. Take care of yourselves, and sweet dreams.